Here we go, day drinking again. I am Wes Hagen. I am the winemaker and brand ambassador for J.Wilkes and the Miller Family Wine Company. And today I'm wearing a hat. It's the first time. It's day, I think, 22 or 23 of, or show 22 or 23. I haven't been numbering them. I've been using dates. Jolie's in the house. Welcome, darling. It's good to see you. Bob's here. And as I will always recommend, checking out J.Wilkes Wines Santa Barbara on the videos tab is always the best. And Eddie Gray's in the house. So yes, day drinking is getting serious today. My friend Brant Grandy out in Lake Minnetonka, Minnesota, knows my passion for the delicious Fortaleza. And there is Marcus Hansen. Marcus, I got my beer and 400 plus Southern reps that not a single Southern rep has ever offered to send my beer home. And so I basically got to tell Southern reps from probably every state in the United States that Small Lots really goes the extra mile for all of their folks. And I did tell them that, never before have so many pointy shoes, both male and female, not being worn now that Southern Glazers is sort of on pause. We work with Southern Glazers, which is a very large distributor all over the country. Lovely people, love all of them, love doing education for them. It's sort of like anything else. Usually a large organization, you might think that the organization might, it might be too big for its own britches, but when you get down to a very reasonable level, down to the personal level, all these people are absolutely wonderful. So welcome. It is Wednesday, hump day. Let's get over it. I don't know how many of you are working remotely, how many of you might be out of work, and how many of you are working, and then coming home at 5 o'clock and letting us hang out. Probably most of you, like me, are working remotely, working smartly, finding out, that all those, a lot of the meetings that we used to do in person were probably not all that necessary, but how important and how wonderful it is for me to be spending this much time at home. Absolutely. Yes. Oh, that Minnesota Marquette last night was fantastic. Yes, you're a Southern. You are a Southern. Oh, you're a Southern expat. I had no idea. I just always assumed that you were Small Lots from the get-go. So Zach and Jason are coming in. If you don't know, if this is your first time, welcome to Day Drinking. There's really no rules here. What we do is this is a bottle of Fortaleza tequila that started in Jalisco, Mexico. Was flown after bottling, a hand-blown bottle, flown to the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and then my friend Brant Grandy and sent out. So thank you, Brant. You are making my life so much nicer today. And as a result, I would like to toast the fact that Minnesota wins the prize for sending me more alcohol in any given day as a friendly, gifts. And Marcus, did you throw that bottle of Surly 2020, that crazy dark beer in there? I don't remember buying it, but I might have bought it for a friend. But I am extremely happy to lay that down for about 10 years before I drink it. I don't drink dark beer very much anymore. It's got a lot of extracts, got a lot of blood, a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs more likely. Does kind of play with my blood sugar a little bit, but man, that is going to be something amazing. 1865 Selected Vineyards Chilean. 1865? Chilean Cabernet from the city of Buellton. There are so many confusing words in the same sentence. 1865 Selected Vineyards, Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon from Buellton. It's obviously from Terravant. I don't think any wine, oh, hi, Carol. I doubt any wine is being, not many places are making Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon in Buellton, the city of Buell, the town of Buell. But I'm guessing that, 2016, okay. Huh. Interesting. Send me a picture of the bottle. I would love to check it out. But chances are it was made at Terravant and maybe even by some winemakers who have left there and come to us at the Miller Family Wine Company. So we have a pretty good relationship with those folks. So I've got tequila in my glass. I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to thank Brant for my bottle of Fortaleza Silver. To me, there's really only one kind of tequila, and that is silver tequila. I really am not interested in how wood influences tequila. I find that silver tequila is incredibly expressive and really does show the quality of a fermentation and a distillation more than just about any white liquor. You know, I mean, in the United States, vodka by law has to be neutral. So, in, you know, vodka, what you're doing is trying to make something that tastes like nothing. And that seems to be what most people want in vodka, is something incredibly neutral. For me, I really like the essence of a spirit. So gin to me is very interesting, especially my favorite gin in the world, if you've been watching the show, is, well, my everyday gin, of course, I got from my mom, because she once in a while after a hard day, you know, in trial or whatever, would have a dry Beefeater martini. So I remember Beefeater being my sort of go-to gin just for a standard martini. I do like, instead of a little vermouth, in most of my cocktails, instead of vermouth, I do use a little Saint Germain, which is it's a flower liqueur. What is it? Elderflower liqueur. Delicious, absolutely delicious. So down the hatch, day drinking, guys. We are moving right along. We are flattening the curve. We are inside. We are not outside making stupid comments like the mayor of Las Vegas today, saying we should just let the casinos open up and let the cards fall. I mean, I believe in moderated free market capitalism. I certainly do. I'm probably more conservative than you probably would imagine fiscally. But as far as keeping people safe, here's the deal. Like, if you wanted to just go out and do whatever you want, get yourself COVID and sit in a room coughing, that's fine. My big problem is you are not in a position to make a decision about your own freedom and liberty that will not affect me. I am immunosuppressed, and you know what? I am doing my best to stay away from people. I'm doing my best to sequester, but it's not about me. It's about stupid people going out and meeting too early are going to put a huge burden on the people that have no choice. Well, they have a choice, and they're being brave. They are our doctors, our PAs, our nurses, our ambulance drivers, our first responders. Those are the people that are going to be absolutely screwed by you being stupid. So let's show some respect to the people that are working harder than probably any people have since wartime. These people in the hospitals that are keeping us all alive. Let's keep that sort of that kind of hospital stuff down. This is kind of the first time I've really vented on this stuff. I guess I've been inside too long, and eventually I have to talk about something other than alcohol. And this is before I've actually had my tequila. Rick Pratt and Ray, so good to have you guys here. And Eddie Gray's in the house. The draft tomorrow, of course. I mean, I'm really hoping that the San Francisco 49ers end up grabbing an incredibly talented wide receiver, maybe one from Alabama. Not a huge Crimson Tide fan until I'm not a fan of any real college team. Grew up being a bit of an SC fan, but that's beyond that. Hard being an SC fan the last 10 years when they basically got called out and they got put out of the bowl system. But 49ers are really, really definitely, as when we lost Emmanuel Sanders, we really need a great pairing with Dante Pettis. Pettis on one side, another great, young, fast guy on the side. That'll be great. So if you haven't been here before, I didn't finish my sentence, and you'll get used to that watching me, but I usually do come back, is that this is the way it rolls. Today, like almost all days, we'll taste a wine together, or if you probably don't have these wines because we're going a little deep into the library today. So for the first maybe 20 minutes, we will taste and talk about the varietals, the place, and I will describe the wine as I taste it. Today we're doing two wines. We're going to go back to the 2014 vintage, somehow 6 years ago, and we're going to be tasting how the wine is after 5 full years in bottle and a little bit more. So I want to give you an idea of, maybe by tasting these wines that I haven't tasted in a while, give myself a little insight on how these vineyard sources in the Paso Robles Highlands district, do they have ageability? Do they fall apart? And I can be a little bit open about these wines because I didn't make them. This was the last year when Vidal Perez, who was the cellar master and would take care of a lot of the wines when J.Wilkes was actually making the wines here before he passed tragically in 2010. Vidal made these wines, and I came in 2015, and we did some blending and finishing of these wines. The Cabernet Sauvignon is 95% Cabernet Sauvignon, 5% Lagrein. I will mention that again. And hey, it's 5 o'clock. Day drinking. Hey, everybody, here we go. Happy Wednesday. Thank you, Don. Phil Pierce. Good to have you here. Phil is our marketing guru up in Northern California. So I will mention that Brant Grandy, who is both of our friend, sent me a bottle of tequila, and I promise anyone who sends me booze, I will definitely take a sip on camera. So happy day drinking. It's Wednesday. We're all in this together. Let's be smart. Let's use post-enlightenment scientific thought to keep human beings alive and happy on this planet. So here's to your health. Here's to my health. Here's to a future we can all be happy with. And you know what? I just was actually reading one of my favorite books, and it said that we have actually created almost 100 times as much value in the world as far as wealth and human flourishing since the Enlightenment. So if we can continue to double and double again and double again, basically domestic product and all making wealth, because wealth, there's not just some amount of wealth and well-being in the world. We can build it. We are brilliant animals. We have the capacity to be the most amazing animal on the planet, and we have the capacity to be the most violent animal on the planet. I see both sides, just like Bacchus's face, just like Dionysus. He has the angelic face, little buzz, just in a beautiful place, and he has the goblin face. And my goal in my drinking is to never get to the goblin face. This is a god with two faces. And I think humans have that same Janus-like, not Janus like a woman's name, Janus like the god, the two-faced god that has the, basically we're all two-faced is what I'm saying. But it's our decision which face we show the world. So I am encouraging us all to do what I've seen in my neighborhood, every single person saying hello to every other single person that we see on our walk, to wave, to say hello, and to have a shot of tequila. So cheers, guys. Smooth. No, it is really, really good. It's like an agave razor. A little bit, I guess my pipes are a little rusty because it did sting a little going down, but boy, is that good. Okay, now we're going to be interesting. All right, here we go. Day drinking with Wes Hagen. So what we're doing today, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk, first of all, about the 2014 vintage in Paso Robles. So we're going to be tasting two 2014 wines. And so you can see, I'll do one at a time. You can see there's the Cabernet Sauvignon 2014. And then we have Zinfandel 2014. The Zinfandel is 5% Petite Syrah. And the Cab, I believe, is also 5% Petite Syrah. So we've got a little petite in there to beef the wines up, give them a little more tannin, a little more grip. But let's get right to it. Let me find a corkscrew and see if I still know how to use it. Let's see what else is going on with you guys. Always love to know where you are, what you're drinking. I'd like to know what Phil Pierce is drinking. I want to know what Eddie Gray's drinking. I want to know what Marcus Hansen's drinking. And again, big shout out as always to Minnesota. I don't know how Minnesota shows up so many times. And Michelle, so lovely to see you. What a fun time we had drinking some Maryland wine yesterday. Love the conversation yesterday. I thought one of the better shows we've had, even though it wasn't specifically directed at the Miller Family Wine Company and Miller Family Wine School's options. We did spend quite a bit of time talking about those options. And if you love the show, make sure to buy some wine. The more wine we sell on the show, the happier my boss and Phil will be. Excellent. And Phil, the other Phil, Maryland Phil, is in the house. Swimming Phil. All right. Janice. Yes. Yes. Talked about the two-faced God. Chris Kern's in the house. Carol Bradshaw. Thank you so much for coming out. Lovely to see you guys. Let me see who else is here. Dawn's here. Ray's here. We got another John. We got Brett Varner's in the house. Good to see you, Brett. Martin's here again. Oh, Mandelberg Riesling Alsace Grand Cru Protégé. That sounds amazing. I really like that. Cool. So if you haven't spent much time with the show, this is kind of the way we go. I welcome everybody, answer questions, look at comments. But when I'm doing the wine section, I will stop doing that. And then as soon as we hit the the conversation period, I will open up some questions and some comments. And then today we're going to be talking about the 3 most underrated grape varietals, both red and white. I'm going to go out on a limb and say these are the 3 white varieties that I think are basically underappreciated and underselling for their quality and how they're produced in the New World in California. So I'm not going to say, if I say one that I'm not going to use, how about Tempranillo? I think Tempranillo gets a call out. It could actually be one of the 3, but I'm going to put it in what I'm calling my dishonorable mention pile, which also has some grapes that I thought about including in the top 3, but I didn't, and I'll give you the reason why. So we'll talk about the varieties that I think should be wider planted and wider appreciated in California. All right, so what am I doing first? I got Zinfandel, and that's right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open both real quick. And we're seeing a little bit of tartaric acid on the cork, which starts showing that the wine has had some ability to age. We're seeing a precipitate of tartaric acid, which also means that the tannins are beginning to form long chains. Remember, tannins in red wine start out as monomers or single molecules. And as those tannins float around in solution, they look for friends. Just like us floating around in isolation. We're looking for friends too. Let's all polymerize, shall we? We're all monomeric human beings floating around the universe, but now we're starting to form long chain polymer friendships. So the same way that little polymers, monomers touch and they form a polymer, we're doing the same socially. Isn't that a beautiful idea? Cool. And now we're going to go, and one thing I love about this 14 Zin, it was the first wine we ever bottled with the DM cork. And if you know me, you know that I love these DM corks. They are real natural cork, shredded, treated in a hyperbaric chamber, and then formed together with a organic food-grade polymer that makes a perfect natural cork that functions as well, or I think sometimes even better than a corkscrew. So these are not inexpensive, but they are beautiful. And that would be your DM cork. And that would be your natural cork. Natural cork. Awesome. Cool. Let us jump straight into the 2014 Zinfandel. So 14 vintage, I would say 15 is when we really started to see some pretty warm vintages, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, going back to a sense of cool, a sense of balance, a little bit better. 14, to me, might be sort of looking back, a warm, generous vintage that didn't really get out of control in any specific way. You could almost say it's like a normal year. I hate the term normal year. One of the first things that I think Adam Tolmack at the Ojai Vineyard, one of my great heroes, told me is, Wes, you'll always hear farmers and winemakers talking about a normal vintage. I'm here to tell you it just doesn't exist. If there's not enough pain to remember, 5 years later, you'll call it a normal vintage. And I think that's exactly what 14 was. Central Coast, Santa Barbara County, especially Paso Robles, where this wine is, Paso Robles Highlands District, southeast corner of the 12 AVAs, south of Shandon, east of Creston. If you know the area that well, you probably live in Paso Robles. So it is basically in the highest elevation of any average of any AVA. There's only 2 vineyards, Shell Creek and French Camp. French Camp is by far the sort of 900-pound gorilla in the AVA. What is it? It's 1,400 acres planted, something like 30 varieties. So French Camp, what I'm learning is it is one of the great spice boxes of the Miller Family Wine Company. When we have, you name a varietal, really from Albarino to Zinfandel, we've got it. So we can bring it in. We always have it. We always have amounts of these wines, so we can use them. If our Pinot Blanc needs just a little bit more minerality, boom, a little bit of Albarino in there, it'll do great. It also has really cold nights and really hot days, so you can kind of get away, because of the diurnal shift, of growing grapes up there that you normally wouldn't think about in Paso Robles, like Chardonnay. Actually, some of our best Chardonnay, we've got Bien Nacido Chardonnay, we've got Solomon Hill Chardonnay within the company. So you would think the Paso Chardonnay would just kind of be like, meh. But I'm telling you, the Paso Chardonnay is fantastic. It just shows you that one grape can actually express itself between region 1, the coolest region, and region 4, which is just about the warmest region. Region 5 gets into port, raisins, Madeira, and sherry style wine. So a little too hot. Awesome. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to put my glass right here. I'm going to grab, oh, I thought I brought it back. I thought for sure I had my little Venturi. That's okay. I'll just give it a shake. 2014 Zin. Let's look at the color. Is it holding in there? So what we're looking for in a wine, if we want to evaluate the color to see if blind, or not blind, but without knowing what the wine is, if you're trying to decide how old the wine is, I'm going to look at it over white paper. It's kind of hard to see on the other camera. So what I'm trying to do is really kind of get an idea. And where I'm looking, I'm no longer looking down into the at the edge. We call it the meniscus. So the meniscus, just like your knee, the meniscus is around the perimeter. So the perimeter is going to start turning a little bit brickish once the wine's about 5 years in the bottle on average. I've seen wines that are 10 years old that have yet to start bricking, and I've seen wines bottled that were already oxidized and bricked. So I know that this wine, according to my old notes that I looked up in my voluminous show prep for today, because I know that I should do a little bit of prep, that this wine had absolutely no premature oxidation, or what we call premox. It was a beautiful medium garnet to ruby color at the very beginning. Now that I'm looking at the edge, I'm seeing maybe just the absolute beginning of just a little bit, before it starts getting a little bit brickish, it starts showing a little bit of a translucent character on the edge. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any brown, any brick, but I'm starting to see almost like a little kind of lighter silver color ringing the edge, which to me is probably a precursor to start seeing a little bit of brickishness in it. So next thing we were going to do after we look at it, I would say, you know, still kind of a medium plus garnet or a very light sort of ruby color. The next thing we would do is stick our nose nice and deep into the glass. I do see a tiny little bit of sediment. So again, I think we are seeing that this wine is starting to shed a little tartaric acid, and is also probably starting to make those long-term, those long chain tannins that we were talking about. It's losing a little bit of its primary character. It's still very juicy. It's still very bright, still very vinous. It has a lot of grape character, as Zinfandel is known to have. There's a certain sort of cedar cigar box meets savoriness. It smells a little bit like perfectly medium rare game, like a nice venison steak, and without the funky gamey character to it. Very bright, very fruity. Has some nice sort of that kind of sagey kind of character. Not herbaceous, but sort of the way that I described in other wines is kind of walking in the foothills on a sunny day. Kind of get that aroma of all the different plants that are kind of coming through. Not one specifically, not specifically any herb or spice, but just that kind of like sunny, sagey, kind of California foothill smell. Definitely raspberry, you know, definitely has some nice red berry fruit. Definitely, you know, cherry, grapes. I would put this wine somewhere between, if I was tasting it blind, I would hope I could nail it between 2013 and 2015, because it is showing, I think, just about perfectly for a wine that has about 5 years of age on it. And that's exactly what it has. Vidal should be incredibly proud. I think this wine is showing incredibly well. I start thinking that it shed a little bit of heft, and it's starting to show a little bit more complexity than I'm used to in Zinfandel. So I think this site is showing me that we can encourage people that like to age their wine, and I'm sure there's one of you out there, one of the 10% of Americans that don't drink their wine within 48 hours of purchase, that it's in a really, really, really pretty place. So I've already made the assessment that the nose is showing a little bit of age. So what I would want to know if I was in your seat, which is the magic of any educational experience, the teacher should ask themselves the fundamental question: what would get me excited if I was on the other side of the presentation or the other side of the lesson? I would want to know, is the nose more advanced as far as aging the wine, or is the mouth more advanced? I would say they're pretty much right on par if I had to choose one. I think it actually shows a little more complexity and a little more age in the mouth. What I'm tasting is a very, very long, integrated, earthy flavor in the mouth that is very oddly even from attack to finish. And what I mean by that is normally you put a young wine in your mouth, boom, there's the attack. There's the explosion of flavor, right? You get a good sense of how the wine is. And then generally a young wine doesn't have the ability to have sort of an equilibrium from beginning to finish. And showing something completely and totally un-American, patience. I'm looking at you. Anyone who's not patient, not specifically you, but someone who's being sort of impatient. We're having our patience tested, but the patience of laying this wine down now for a full 5 years after bottling, or even a little bit more, is really paying off for me, because I start thinking of bolder red wines as they begin to age, like a nice bottle-aged Bordeaux or a nice bottle-aged Paso Syrah. One of the any wine you can imagine, once it loses a little of its baby fat, the more complex elements come out. You can really start tasting what the farming did to the wine, not the winemaking. Anyone can make a wine in California that's bright, fruity, and delicious for the first couple of years. What is really extraordinary is when you find a winemaker, or you find a site, or you find a combination of a winemaker and a site that can really make a wine that speaks a different language almost every year it's in the bottle. And the language this wine is speaking right now is balance, complexity, elegance, a little bit of that earthiness to it. And it still has enough bright fruit that I think a lot of people would be very excited about it. But now I'm going to move from this wine being totally accessible. Eddie Gray, we know what the 16 matched more beautifully than anything, and that was those lobster mitts in a sherry cream sauce at Centauri restaurant in Los Angeles, right over there by I think is it Warner Brothers Studios? Have to remind me, but it's right next to a studio. We did a great winemaker dinner there, and we did Zinfandel with lobster. And man, I think we really opened some eyes that night. That was a really, really great way to go. This would also rock with lobster. I'd put a little like dirt or forbidden rice or some dirty quinoa or something kind of on there to give it a little earthy character. And I think the sherry would be perfect to sort of bridge the two, the slight oxidative character in the sherry. This wine, not really showing oxidative, but a little bit of age, which of course is oxidation. I just want to make sure. I'm not trying to sell this wine. This wine is sold out, has been for many, many years. But back and give it a second shot. If you have any questions about Zinfandel, we've already talked about, let's see, can I still say it? Kurjanik Kastelanski? Not bad. Not bad for an American winemaker. Remember, Primitivo and Kurjanik Kastelanski basically are the source grapes for Zinfandel, and that's exactly what we call it. ZPC, Zinfandel, Primitivo, Kurjansky, Kastelanski. So Carol Meredith back in 2006 gave it that name when she found that really those three grapes are all basically synonymous. Yum. Digging it. All right, already opened the cab. 2014. So we've got a quote unquote normal year, which now you can say the joke is, what is a normal year in winemaking? It is a year where the pain wasn't so bad one way or the other that we can't talk about it. So really, I mean, if you think making wine is hard in California, I would recommend checking weather on the same days you feel bad in Alsace, Champagne, Burgundy, and Bordeaux, because one of the places is going to be decimated by some like rain or hail. There's always something going on in other regions that make me feel like this is like, as a winemaker, the Central Coast of California might be one of the easiest places to make wine, just because we don't have the same issues that so many other people do. So I'm expecting this wine to have a little more darker color. And it does. We're definitely into the ruby plus, almost to the purple. Is it still opaque? Yes, it is. As I lay the wine down with about 2 ounces in my glass, I cannot see my printed notes on a white piece of paper through the heart of the wine. Now, let's see, I can fit this here. I'm giving you guys all my secrets from my notes. If you really pay attention, you might actually see what my 3 underrated varietals are, but you can kind of see a little bit of that. I'm seeing some really nice dark color. I'm just going to go ahead and not worry too much about color. We've already talked about it. Let's jump in and get my nose deep in there. Remember when you smell wine? I mean, I've got a decent nose. I never thought my nose was big until my wife told me. Now I'm just totally cool with it because she's going to be basically my partner for the rest of my life, because I'd be an idiot not to have her in my life. I'm saying, I always say nice things about my wife, but on the call today with Southern Glazers, there's 400 people listening. I basically said that my wife cut me off from my normal beer purchasing, and how lucky I was to get all this beer from Minnesota. Thank you, Marcus. And she came in because she heard me in the bedroom, and she came in and just gave me the stink eye. So I had to back up and say, oh no, I mean, she's amazingly permissive in anything I do. And as long as I'm not an idiot, but I have to be careful, because sometimes adding beer to my meals takes the carbs to a level where it'd probably be better for me to have a glass of wine. And then she says, why are you buying beer when we have a fully stocked liquor cabinet? Fortaleza. And you've got more wine than you can shake a stick at. Plus you're opening, and she's like, and you're opening at least 1 bottle of wine every night for your show. And where's that wine going? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm pouring some of it out. No, I don't. My family's Scotch Presbyterian, which is weird because it means that we were also teetotalers. My great grandmother was actually in the Women's Christian Temperance Unions. She was a teetotaler, so was my grandfather and his parents. So we really didn't drink in my family very much. But at the same time, so I'm Scotch Presbyterian, which to me means 2 things. We're very thrifty, and generally we don't drink very much, or we tell people we don't drink very much. Me, I like to drink. There's some similar threads between the wine. The earthy character and that same kind of brambly character, I think, is absolutely uniform between the 2 varietals, which is weird because you think about Zin, juicy, bright, spicy, grapey, and then you think about Cabernet, cassis, dense, blackberry, blueberry, cigar box, picks up the oak character, dark, rich. Cabernet is one of the easiest grapes to grow on the planet. I got in trouble talking. The owner of Silver Oak came down to Clopepi around probably 2005, and he wanted to buy some Pinot Noir for Tuomi. And I made him, at least momentarily, a little miffed when I was basically giving my normal tour at Clopepi, which would also sometimes include the phrase, now, if we were talking about Cabernet, it wouldn't matter because you can grow Cabernet in an effing closet. But this is Pinot Noir, and everything we do to this wine is really, really going to show. So I got in a little bit of trouble on that. So I have to be careful what I say about Cab. I don't drink a lot of Cab myself. I'm more of a Pinot guy. I'm not an anything but Cab guy. I find myself drinking Cabernet quite often. There's certain Cabs that I really love. I love old Napa Cabs. I love old Bordeaux. I like especially super seconds and wines such as Chateau Angelou and Chateau Pichon Longueville. Some of these awesome wines that are about $50-$70, but you don't have to pay. They are 1/10 of the first growth, but they may be a second growth. They may be a super second. Super seconds tend to be a lot more expensive than $100. But back when I was managing the cellar at Clopepi, we'd end up with cases and cases of these wines, and we had Angelou and Pichon all the way back to the 70s. And we recognized, and we'd pull out, once in a while, we'd even pull out a bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild from a fantastic year. And, Steve would turn over the bottle and showed me, the literal price tag, which used to come out of this little white thing that they would put on every bottle, little proper wine. I think it was from maybe from High Time, and it was like first growth from the 70s, like $21.95, and I mean $21.95, not $2,195. Like you would probably be able to get a really good deal on that bottle today. Crazy stuff. All right, let's talk about 2014 Cab. So 5 years in the bottle. To me, this is really where the drinking window opens. So when I'm tasting these wines and recommending to the wine club, and by the way, we are doing a special wine club hangout. Already got some reservations. Looking forward. If you go onto the jwilkes.com website, join the wine club. You won't get another shipment. You can always, you automatically are going to get better discounts, and even that you get, with all the sales we got going on. And we're going to have some case sales going on soon that are going to really, it's going to be advantageous to be in the wine club. So if you have the opportunity and you're interested, go over and join the wine club at jwilkes.com. And what that'll do is give you an automatic invite for this Friday's private tasting, in which we will be talking about stuff and having a Zoom hangout. So it'll be basically all the people in the wine club able to participate, talk, and hang out. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing this Friday. So gosh, it's coming up in just a couple of days. So I really want to encourage everybody watching is to become part of the J.Wilkes culture, which means jump in on the wine club. You can just join the Explorer Club. I think it's 9 bottles a year. So you'll get up to 3 shipments of 3 bottles when it's cool enough and the right times to ship. And then you'll get incredible discounts on everything else. So, and you'll get offers for buying some of the wines that aren't available to anybody else. So feel free to think about that. So when I'm talking about people, as I was saying about how long to hold these wines, I realize most people want to drink the wines young. I learned this when I was at Clo Pepe and I was talking to a marketing person, and they were saying, and I was mentioning, when I do my tasting notes, I give a really honest drinking window when I think the wine's going to be best. So if it was a Clo Pepe Chardonnay and it was a 2010, I would say 2015 to 2025. This wine might go 20 years. And she goes, well, from a marketing perspective, that is incredibly stupid. Why would you not put the word now at the beginning of the drinking window for every one of your wines? You're selling the wine as a product. You're saying the wine is good to drink. Why don't you tell people in the tasting notes the same? And ever since that moment, I've always used the word now to start the drinking window, because a lot of people like to drink their wines young. And when we drink a wine young, it's like dating someone who's young. They might look, they might be prettier, they might be more handsome, they might be more fit, but they're just going to suck at conversation. You're going to get young, vibrant, happy wines that really underperform in the complexity era. If you wait 5 years on a wine or you wait 10 years on a wine, you can expect that wine to change significantly. And you really, as I said, get a much more deep view of the place, the soil, and the viticulture in an old wine, while I think the winemaker's craft is going to be much more evident within a young, vibrant, and primary wine. So this wine is stuck between primary and aged, and this would be in my old world where I would open up the drinking window because it's lost a little bit of baby fat. So when the baby fat goes down, the complexity goes up. So I would say we want to drink the wine there before the fruit drops off, but as the complexity is emerging. And everyone has a different criteria. I like to taste wines that most people would think have completely and totally lost their vibrancy and youth. I like to basically do forensic files on wine. I want it to be on in a glass like it was on a slab, and I want to taste a wine that everyone else thinks is dead, because my palate can taste through the deadness and understand so much more about the soil. A wine that is devoid of fruit, to me, tells me much more about how the wine was farmed and how the wine reflects its terroir. I use the word terroir loosely. As most of you know, I prefer the word typicity, but terroir has 2 less syllables. It's a lot easier to say since I've been drinking tequila. And I see some folks and some questions coming in. Probably in about 5 minutes, we'll bust out and give you guys some answers. I would say in the mouth, the tannins are really starting to polymerize what used to be very pokey tannins that would pierce right into your taste buds. There are tannins that are long enough that lay over the papillae of the tongue and really don't spike our taste buds into that bitterness or astringent flavor receptor on the papillae of the human tongue. This one is getting there. It's starting to become slightly velveteen. Definitely a little toffee, definitely a little toasty oak. The fact that the oak, we really only did about 25% new oak on this. There is a richness in the mid palate that makes me wonder if I'm tasting Petite Syrah. At 5%, that seems ridiculous for me to be able to delineate or define 5% Petite Syrah and 95% Cabernet is a bit, that's quite a flex. But I do find a lot of richness still alive into this wine, which I really like. Definitely showing a little bit of like raw tobacco leaf, definitely showing a little bit of that toffee, starting to show a little bit of dried fruits, a little more sort of dried cherry, not compote-y, not jammy at all. It's really in a beautiful place right now. I wish I had 100 cases of this to sell you guys. Assuming you guys would want to buy 100 cases, you know, it's only a couple cases a person, no biggie. I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, if I had a bunch of Psalms here and we tasted through these wines, most Psalms would probably find that these wines are vastly improved than how they tasted at release, which makes me feel good for a couple reasons. Number one, for those few people that believe like I do that showing some patience and laying down some wine and having plenty of wine in your house, by the way, being in quarantine or sequester or sparkling isolation, shouldn't everybody have a wine cellar of at least 10 cases just in case we need it? We do. But having the ability to go back and open all my samples and find these are the oldest. Well, I have 113 Pinot Noir from the Santa Rita Hills, which we're going to taste in a little bit. It might even be tomorrow. But this whole idea of showing how these wines age and how they really, really become more complex. Someone actually told me one time, because I used to be a little more vocal about the fact that I wasn't really a cab guy, that I really thought Pinot Noir, because of its femininity, its complexity, its elegance, its restraint, it's everything about it. I just can wax about Pinot Noir like that, terrible Sideways movie, which we'll actually talk about a little bit in context with one of the grapes coming up. Now, one of my underperforming red grapes. That people would say, why don't you drink cab? I say, well, I do drink cab. I drink old cab. And then they would classify me, and the rumor was I was kind of like an ABC anything but cab guy. I've always never been anything but Chardonnay guy. I believe Chardonnay is one of the most beautiful grapes and wines in the world. But here we go. It's like when I started talking about Cabernet in a lot of different places, I would be talking about a Bordeaux. I talk a Dunhill Mountain, one of the wines that I had tasted from Sonoma, from Knights Valley or Pope Valley or Paso Robles that had 5-10 years on it, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this wine is absolutely spectacular!" And then I would get this comment from a crowd or someone making a comment, "But Wes, you don't like Cab." And I would say the cool thing about Cab is you lay it down for 10 years, it actually has a character and flavor that reminds me somewhat of Pinot Noir. It loses its baby fat, it loses its grip, the tannins soften, and it becomes complex and earthy. What Pinot Noir does with half of the age on it. So to a certain extent, I have to age my cabs because I really, really want them to be earthy and mellow and elegant. But at the same time, we have to be cautious in how long we say we could age this wine. How long? On the Zin, I would say drink or hold for another 4 years. On the Cab, I would say drink or hold for the next 5 years. If in general I had to make a blanket statement, drink or hold, I would say drink for a normal American audience. If I was talking to purely song group and folks that really have strong cellars and strong desire to age the wine and really want to taste this wine with the most complexity and age on it without letting it start to fade and die, I would say, let's see, 2023. And then we could split the difference and say somewhere between 2021 and 2022. So if you have any of the 14 J.Wilkes in your cellar, thank you. Thoroughly appreciate it. But if you don't, let's think about 14 as being a vaguely analogous vintage to probably somewhere between 17 and 18, probably closer to 18. So as the 18s come out, you can look forward and think, one's probably got 10 years. A little something about aging wine and some vintages in the Central Coast of California. Looks like since I have been blabbing, Christy has joined us again. Thank you. And David, lovely to have you here. Pine Ridge Cab for Eddie Gray. Always love to hear where you are and what you're drinking, especially if I don't know. Michelle Shin is having some La Crema 15 Monterey Pinot. That should be in a really beautiful place right now. Monterey tends to be pretty light and vervy. I've made wine from Monterey. I like the Pinot Noir there. I think it's some of the best Pinot Noir for the money, especially for about a $20 bottle of Pinot. I think Monterey is a great spot for it. And Bruce, we're getting a Girard Bertrand Cremant de Lemy Brut Rosé. Love me some Cremant. Means I don't have to pay for the champagne word. Although if I could, I would probably drink champagne every day. All right. Tommy's at the beach drinking rosé. We all love that. Punta Agave Blanco Mezcal. Mezcal, baby. Mezcal. Oh my gosh. Are you going to make me go grab my bottle of Mezcal? So I have a bottle of Mezcal with literally like one shot left from my buddy Tim Vandergrift. That is the only bottle that probably is in the United States. Love the Tobola. Tobola Mezcal. If you've never had Tobola Mezcal and you drink Pinot Noir, oh my gosh. So, or you like, I don't like peaty Scotch, but I love Tobola Mezcal. And it's like smoke in a glass. Unbelievable. Yes. Mezcal is a hell of a thing. I've been really, really enjoying learning about Mezcal. I'm now on the Mezcal subreddit and talking to all these people about all the Mezcals. Yet another alcoholic beverage I probably don't need to get into, but I want to. And Dominic is having a 2016 Cabernet Franc from Shepherdess Cellars in the Finger Lakes, New York. Yes, from Geneva all the way down to Ithaca. Whew, there's some beautiful wines. And yeah, the Cabernet Franc is probably my favorite red up there. Pinot Noirs up there really don't float my boat all that much, but I do believe that Dr. Constantine Frank is making some of the finest white wine in the world. Met his granddaughter, heard her lecture about that whole thing. If you don't know Dr. Constantine Frank and you don't know the Finger Lakes, you are missing out on some of the most, the highest cut value white wines in the entire United States. It's got enough acid to make it like an Alsatian winemaker to go, whoa, wow, this is from the United States. Truly great. Rick Pratt, Entourage, 2017 Thompson Vineyard Grenache. And Thompson Vineyard is now Dovecote, I believe. I don't know if Dovecote is still calling it the Thompson Vineyard. I hope they are, because that vineyard has amazing sort of history. And if you don't know the Thompson Vineyard and what will become the Alisos Canyon AVA in Santa Barbara, which will be the next AVA in California, or excuse me, the next AVA in Santa Barbara, maybe the next AVA in California. If it does, I get paid. So go, go, go. Get that thing. It's already been turned over to Treasury. I wrote the AVA petition. It's going to be the Thompson Vineyard, the Martian Vineyard, a couple other very small plantings, but that really should be great. Cool. And Jennifer's hanging out with the beach with Tommy. We all kind of want to be on the beach with Tommy right now. So just make sure you're social distancing and, do what you will. If you guys are sequestered together, doesn't matter if you're social distancing until someone gets, oh, Jeremy Ball. Jeremy, so glad to have you here. If you don't know Jeremy, he does a Good Morning Lompoc program that I've been chomping at the bit to maybe be a guest on. So we'll talk about that, Jeremy. I'm up early every morning. Would love to talk a little bit about what's going on. James Sparks is in the house, winemaker for Liquid Farm. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. We're getting all kinds of industry people in the house. Also, Jeremy owns bottlebranding.com, Jeremy Ball, bottlebranding.com for all of your photography, video, and promotion things. If you need a website build, if you need some pictures of your wine, he does the best bottle shots in the industry. He has a proprietary way of taking a bottle shot that is incredible. If you've never seen it, go over to bottlebranding.com. Check it out. Also, one of my best friends in the world. Love it. Al's in the house. John's in the house drinking some Pagter Brothers, a Melodious Syrah Grenache. We're going to talk about Syrah in just a little bit. Close to an Oregon Cab Franc, but akin more like to a Cab Franc that you might find in Bordeaux. Probably not highly allocated. Most of those East Coast wines stay on the East Coast, and that's awesome. Peter Rogers, welcome, sir. So glad you're here. The Zin Man's back in the house. I do enjoy an aged Zin. It's got to probably be, maybe Ridge that really turned me on to how long Zins can age. But, I'm a Californian back almost 4 generations. So as a result, I have great pride in Zin and Petite Syrah, knowing that these are wines that really represent our history as much as anything else. Awesome. Dominic is really waxing poetic over here. He's a home winemaker and a vineyardist on the East Coast of New York. If you want to read about Cab Franc, he's putting some really, really cool stuff up here on the J.Wilkes Wine Santa Barbara page. Yes, Tommy's got a bottle on the beach, not a can, although canned wine does seem very beachy to me. I remember drinking beer on the beach for some reason, and spring break, high school and college down in Rosarito Beach down in Baja, Mexico. And what we used to do is actually dig down into the sand until it wasn't hot sand. And then we would basically throw all of our ice in the case, lay down all of the chipboard things that we got our beer in, and then put ice on that, and then we put the beer on top of it, more ice, and then we would cover it up with sand, and then we'd reach down the sand. And it was kind of like, I think we called it sort of the Baja ghetto cooler, and it worked really well. The locals showed us how to do that, how to fish with a Coke can. You wrap the line around the can. You can use the can as a pole, sort of as a cool little Baja fishing pole. Oh, those times were just awesome. J.Wilkes Wine Club. Should I join Explorer Red or Explorer Mix? What does the recommend? Talk to Brett about the club. Julie is going to take really good care of you on the club. Depends if you like reds or a mix of reds and whites. I think the whites we make are spectacular. The Pinot Blanc, I think, is definitely worth trying. And with summer coming up, I would do that personally, but I want you to get some information and some recommendations from the other folks too. Yes, you're a brave man. And of course, the J.Wilkes tasting room is actually still open for pickup. So if you're local, you can call ahead or order online and pick up any of these wines. I think you can even pick up the Smashberry, Ballard Lane, and all those wines on sale. I think you can actually still pick them up at the J.Wilkes tasting room. We had someone from the J.Wilkes tasting room join us and share a video last Friday, and he wouldn't show us the whole room because he said he was a little embarrassed because it's a little out of sorts, because it doesn't look as beautiful and perfect as it used to in that awesome commercial space down just a couple steps off the beach in Santa Barbara. But I think it's become an allocation center. So gloves and a mask, hand it off, take it home, take your gloves off, take your mask off. You got wine. So if you're around local, give Antonio a call in the tasting room. Also, in our wine club hangout this Friday in Zoom, we'll have our tasting room manager. We'll also have our wine club manager to answer any questions that I can't answer about all this wonderful stuff. Josh is in the house. Josh down in San Diego is talking about the fact he likes the whites. He was recommending to Tommy maybe to join that. Naomi, one of my favorite people in the world, she likes my hat. You recognize? So if you don't know Fernet Branca, you either have really good taste or really bad taste. A lot of people with really extraordinary palates don't like Fernet Branca because it's really bitter, but it's an Amaro. It is a health food, and in a perfect world, I would drink 1 or 2 shots of Fernet every night before I go to sleep, but I'm watching. Oh, Michelle, yes. Wow. Yes, Michelle, you will get for your support, I will make sure you have a password for regardless of what's going on with our with your wine club membership. You would actually probably would have got a really good discount with all those cases that you bought. But whatever you want to do, we love ourselves some Michelle Shin. She's also the one who sent me that late harvest Gruner Veltliner from Maryland that we tasted yesterday, from the Piemonte of beautiful Maryland, United States. Last time I was in Maryland, I did a winemaker dinner in Phoenix, Maryland, and drove by Robert Parker's house on the way to that tasting. People always say, you must hate Robert Parker. Hell no, he's one of the greatest wine heroes in American history. Just the fact that he writes so well about wine, that the wines he loves become expensive and vaunted, that's not his fault. That just means that he's doing his job and doing an amazing job for it. The 2 greatest wine heroes to me in the history of the United States that were born here in the United States would be 2 Roberts. Robert Mondavi for getting everyone to drink fine wine at table, and Robert Parker for engaging the popular imagination of the United States. And you might have heard me say this one time before, but I blame Robert Parker for over-alcoholized, overwrought, overripe wines just as much as I would blame Disney for overbred Dalmatians that are both unable to walk and generally blind and deaf. So developmentally disabled Dalmatians are a result of Disney making a badass movie about spotted dogs. They did a great job. Everyone wanted one of those dogs. You're not going to fault Disney for making a great, but if you look up Dalmatian Rescue, you suddenly realize there's a real problem out there with people because Dalmatians are generally terrible dogs. They're very good at doing 2 things. running 30 miles a day and biting someone who goes after their carriage. So in general, Dalmatians, without 30 miles a day, they require so much exercise that in general, it's very difficult for them to do their thing. Awesome. Love the insights. Ballard Lane Sauvignon Blanc for Bevan. Lovely. Oh, J.Wilkes, Solomon Hill, the Pinot Noir. Wow. That wine was made by J.Wilkes all the way up, I think, until 2009, but I'd have to check, and the wine is beautiful. I do somewhere in all of our inventory, there are some old wines that Jeff made. I swear I'm going to find them, because if you've never tasted the 2005 Bien Nacido Pinot Blanc, that keeps me working and keeps me up at night thinking how I can make a wine that good. All right. Smashberry, beautiful. And Jane's in the house, Anne Marie and Dom, 80 cases in your cellar right now. Beautiful. I know you got a lot of homemade wine too. And I really appreciate your support, Dominic, of the Miller family wines. When are you, Jeremy, and I going to play golf and drink wine? That is sort of up to social distancing and herd immunity. The issue is because of my health issues, I'm immunosuppressed. So a lot of my friends are still going out almost every day and playing disc golf. I have decided, and it has nothing to do with one of them being the head chef or the head cook at a local prison that has had some problems with COVID. I am knowing that he's probably been exposed and that there's a lot of people that are not showing symptoms that are exposed. So I'm being a little extra careful in my sparkling isolation. So there you go. So I'm going to say, Rick, the moment that we can, and my endocrinologist says, dude, go for it. We are so on La Purisma, playing a beautiful, beautiful round of golf. And my friend Eric is still going out up north in San Luis Obispo. Awesome. Looks like love anything from Bien Nacido. I do too. Fortunately, I'm in the company that owns it, so we're in good shape. 24 cans of the Smashberry Red for Keith Jackson. You, sir, a great everyday drinker. Thank you for that. And I'm glad you mentioned the DD50 promo code. If you go to Miller Family Wine Company, any of the non-J.Wilkes wines are still on sale for $7.50 a bottle. Less than $100 a case, generally delivered, even with the $10 a case shipping. And that includes Smashberry, especially don't forget the rosé. I've been crushing this rosé. It's absolutely gorgeous. A Grenache-based rosé with a little Syrah and just the tiniest touch of Chardonnay. The Ballard Lane wine, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Zinfandel, Cabernet, and then the barrel burner wines, Napa quality, Paso pricing, actually less than Paso pricing. Actually, it's down to pretty much like Modesto pricing, down to $7.50 a bottle for beautiful, beautiful sort of Napa style Paso. The cab has a little bit of bourbon barrel influence. Chardonnay does not. Chardonnay is about 40% new French oak, almost 50% new French oak, and that Paso cab under barrel burner is absolutely delicious. So if you need some wines in your cellar, this is a great time to do it at that $7.50 price. And you can get the cans of Smashberry. Someone told me they might be out of stock, but the Smashberry cans were down to $3.75 a can, and that's a full $3.75, which is a nice half bottle of wine. Awesome. Okay. Rick says his mushrooms should be ready, so this is an excellent time for me to launch into a quick and dirty summation of what I think the 3 most underrated grape varieties to be planted and made in California. And I say this for a very specific reason, because it's all about frame of reference. Everyone here, if you have your underrated white varieties, I want to know them. What grapes should be planted and made more, because you would buy them here from California. So if you have your own opinion, I would love to hear what you would like to see loved more in California wine. First of all, none of these grapes would be considered underrated on their own soil. So if I'm talking about a grape that's grown in a certain region of France and you told them this grape is underrated, they'd be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? You know, I am born with the knowledge of all AOCs and all grapes basically comes through the umbilical cord. French people just, I don't know how, but they all know every French region and all the varieties and the wines they get. I think they get it basically through their mother, through osmosis, just the same way every English person, I think, probably knows every Beatles lyric. It just seems to happen that way. And then many of these grapes have had their moment, but who am I to second guess what people should be buying and drinking in the US? I'm just giving my opinion. And then I'm also focusing on varietals that are underrated in California where I am. Let's start with whites. Something got under my skin last night. So I want to start with much love to Black Ankle Vineyards in they're out there in the Piedmont, Maryland area. Gruner Veltliner. Yes, I am going to take Gruner Veltliner as number 3. That I would love to see Gruner more loved in California. Here's the reason why. There's insignificant U.S. acreage. I mean, insignificant. When I looked it up, the percentage in the United States, this little gray bar in a 360-degree sort of pie chart, I mean, you couldn't even cut that piece of pie. It was like wafer thin, and just a wafer thin mint. We need more than a wafer thin mint of Gruner Veltliner in this damn country. We need to see who's doing Gruner. Much love to Kathy Joseph at Fiddlehead, who's actually starting to produce a varietal. Increase the planting significantly in Santa Barbara County. So why also Gruner? Well, I teach all the food and wine pairing classes. Gruner is one of the only grapes that matches with anything that has chlorophyll and a little bit of vegetal bitterness to it. Brussels sprouts. We're talking charcuterie, sauerkraut. Something with a little bitterness that really screams. This tends to, from that perspective, match with Gruner. So much love to Gruner Veltliner. Austria. Some people think of Gruner Veltliner. Well, that's okay, because everything that's famous that you think is German is actually Austrian. Everybody except Goethe and Beethoven that's famous that you think is German is actually Austrian. So Austrian people, for their smaller population than Germany, is generally just crushing, because anything that's famous out of Germany and Austria is usually Austrian. So Gruner Veltliner, you get the number 3 position in the white wine. Number 2, I'm going with Pinot Blanc. You know me. So whatever is going to be number 1, is going to be something that's incredibly passionate in my world and something that I really like to see moving right along. Pinot Blanc, insignificant U.S. acreage, down for every 1 acre of Pinot Blanc in California. How about 1,200 acres of Chardonnay? That's 12,000% increase from Pinot Blanc to Chardonnay. Pinot Blanc is what Pinot Grigio wants to be when it grows up and develops a soul. Friends don't let friends drink crappy Pinot Blanc or Pinot Grigio. There's not a lot of bad Pinot Blanc, because the last places where it is really are producing incredibly good wines. So Alto Adige, Alsace, much love, but let's focus it in. And there are beautiful places: Santa Rita Hills, Santa Maria Valley, Sonoma Coast should have more Pinot Blanc. Russian River, especially towards the cooler parts closer to Santa Rosa, I think would do incredibly well with Pinot Blanc. So Pinot Blanc is my number 2. Number 1, the most underrated and underplanted grape in California, to me, is also one of the grapes that used to be one of our biggest workhorses in California, and that is Chenin Blanc. What I learned about Chenin Blanc, great love for it growing up, great love tasting some of the Chenins, obviously, coming out of Chapelet, coming out of some of the better producers within California, Napa. There's some really amazing Chenin. Anyone who's making Chenin Blanc in Napa gets all my love, because if you still have old vine Chenin Blanc in a region where you could get 4 times as much for Chardonnay or Cabernet, you obviously have a great love for the grape. So to me, Vouvray, some of the great Chenin Blancs that are coming out of all these different regions in France just point to the fact that California can do great Chenin Blanc. And here's the cool thing. We may be making a Chenin Blanc at some point from California under J.Wilkes. Where do I want to make Chenin Blanc from? I want to make it from Clarksburg in the Delta. It's basically an island that produces incredible Chenin Blanc, and we could probably do a Chenin Blanc for probably even a little bit less than our Pinot Blanc. We could probably do a Chenin Blanc for about $12 or $15. Love me some Chenin. So number 1, dwindling U.S. acreage. It's actually starting to fall off because it's being replanted to Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and other grapes that have a little more cachet. And my God, it used to, from in 1 or 2 generations, Chenin Blanc went from the workhorse grape of white wine in California basically to a geek wine that no one really wanted to talk about. So Chenin, I think, really needs to have another moment. And then, of course, we talked about Vouvray and Clarksburg. So those were my 3 whites, right? So we've got Gruner, Pinot Blanc, and Chenin Blanc. Let's jump over to red. So, Harry Waugh, 1964, I think, came out and said, a British wine critic, one of the first great wine critics in the world, said that the first responsibility for any great wine is to be red. Its second responsibility is to be Burgundy. If there's a more sort of British attitude about wine, I don't know if I've ever heard it. Claret, Burgundy, kind of the number 1 and number 2. Red wine, incredibly important. I'm going to go ahead and say number 3, the third most important grape to kind of bring back and to really encourage you guys to drink it and encourage you guys to buy it. First of all, I will notice 1 of 6 of these wines is a grape variety I actually make with any regularity at the Miller Family Wine Company at J.Wilkes. So I'm certainly not using this as a platform for supporting and selling my own wine. You'll get plenty of that. I want to give you the honest answer. So when I offer you the wines, you think, well, the guy's been honest with me, hopefully. And it seems like people are enjoying these wines. Number 3, you ready? And if you'd like to share what you think are the underrated wines, varieties to be growing in California, please let me know. Get as freaky as you want. I want to learn about new grapes. On. Here it is. Ready? Number 3, Cabernet Franc. The basically progenitor grape that gave us Cabernet Sauvignon, that gave us Merlot. Cabernet Franc is the beginnings of sort of the sort of that's what I'm looking for. Progenitor is a good word, but it's sort of the soul of Bordeaux, right? I mean, Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon are not related to Cabernet Franc, but most of the other grapes. I mean, Cabernet Franc is planted by itself, but also you wouldn't have Cabernet Sauvignon without Cabernet Franc. You wouldn't have Merlot. So there's something very, powerful, something very, very sort of primal about Cabernet Franc that we have to respect because it's given us these other grapes that are so much more important now than the original Cabernet Franc grape. Tiny plantings. If you look at the acreage of Cabernet Sauvignon, the acreage of Merlot, the acreage of Cabernet Franc is almost 0. I mean, it's insignificant compared to the combination of its kids. So it's time to give Papa some love and say, hey, Cabernet Franc, I love you. Chinon, Bourgueil, the areas where Cabernet Franc is predominant. There's quite a bit of Cabernet Franc in some Bordeaux varieties, including Cheval Blanc. If you were looking for a great first growth or second growth that has heavy Cabernet Franc, you can actually look for some and they'll show it. Cabernet Franc wines in California are generally varietally designated. Generally will have 5 to 10%, maybe of Cabernet Merlot, maybe a little bit of Claret, maybe a little bit of some of the other grapes that they grow, maybe Petit Verdot, maybe a little bit of Malbec, if we're lucky. But Cabernet Franc is sexy as hell, and I really wish there was more of it in California and more people drinking Cabernet Franc, so it would be a little bit more of a mainstream varietal. Number two, make sure to share with me. If you disagree, bring it. If you want to talk about it, bring it. If you had a question, bring it. Why the hell do you love, and I have to admit, my wife's favorite red grape outside of Pinot Noir is Cabernet Franc, and we do drink quite a bit of Cabernet Franc, and we always love to taste Cabernet Francs from all over the United States. Also, gotta give Cabernet Franc a little love. Does very well in Long Island, does very well in the Finger Lakes, does very well in Virginia, does very well in other regions of the East Coast. So you know what? And we're starting to, some great Cabernet Franc out of Washington. We're seeing some great Cabernet Franc out of Idaho. Idaho is a little bit of my bully pulpit this year. If you haven't tasted Idaho wines, I think they are incredibly, maybe the most, if we're talking underrated, maybe one of the most underrated states for winemaking left in the West. Okay, number 2, you ready? Any idea what I'm going to say? Gamay. Is it the best red wine value in the world? Cru Beaujolais and Village Beaujolais, to me, are probably the most beautiful wines with 5 years of bottle age on them in my cellar right now. If you don't know the areas of Beaujolais, Morgon, Fleury, Moulay au Vin, you know, I mean, there's so, I mean, I could probably think about it. I didn't prepare. I'm not a master somm or anything, but I remember the places where I like to, those are my favorite villages. And then if you get into the cruise, they're basically $25, $30 wines that should be $100. So buy a beautiful vintage of Morgon or Fleury. You basically have these beautiful Gamay wines that you can lay down for 5 to 10 years, and they're absolutely freaking beautiful. Love Gamay with a little age on it. Bright, fruity, very primary, very, very high fruit content in the young wines that start showing a little bit of bottle age about 5 years. And I think most good vintage Cru Beaujolais can lay down for 10 years with they'll throw 10 years off and show some incredibly beautiful fruit. So, I mean, there are some questions whether some Pinot Noir in the United States is actually Gamay. So if you love Pinot and you love the elegance of Pinot and that sort of slightly light-bodied but incredibly fruity and slightly more dense than Pinot Noir, if, for instance, you love Meiomi Pinot, as you begin to recognize that the sweetness of that wine is a little bit off-putting and you're looking for a drier wine, you might want to grow from the Meiomi straight to Cru Beaujolais. It's going to be about the same price, and I swear it is such a better wine. You know, I really recommend to get to know Gamay if you don't know it. One of the issues with Gamay, and I think one reason why it might be kind of falling off a little bit, is because Nouveau Beaujolais, which is a different style of wine made under pressure in a special type of fermentation called carbonic maceration. No oxygen ingress during the fermentation, and it's done under pressure. The pressure actually, instead of crushing the grapes, the pressure actually makes the grapes explode a little bit. You know, basically under pressure, you're getting a different type of maceration. The wine smells a little like bubblegum and bananas. Nouveau Beaujolais was a big thing. It's losing a little bit of cachet, and that may be one reason why Gamay needs a little love. Let's plant it. Let's plant it on the edge of the Region 1, Gamay on the edge of the Santa Rita Hills, Gamay on the edge of the Sonoma Coast, more Sebastopol maybe than Santa Rosa. Some of the other places where you're looking for a grape, you don't have quite as much heat summation. I'm looking at Winkler Region 2 is, I think, the area that basically shows around 2,500 degree days, 2,200 to 2,500 degree days. Perfect for Gamay. Lots of places in California, Gamay would do really well. We just need to not only drink a lot more Beaujolais, but we also have to open up a market that we're drinking so much Beaujolais that we actually want to drink California Gamay as well. Beautiful grape, beautiful wine. Number one, you're going to be very, very surprised where I'm going with this. And some of you, if you've been really paying attention, I've given just a couple clues to this, but the most, to me, underrepresented wine in sales in California right now is clearly Merlot. And I'm also going to give you guys an option here. Here's the option. I want to say that Merlot represents the greatest value in California wine right now, even 14 years after Sideways, 16 years after Sideways. Sideways was released in October of 2004 and forever changed the firmament of Santa Barbara winemaking. Merlot is born to live in California, not in the Santa Rita Hills, not in Santa Maria Valley, but in Paso Robles Highlands District, yes. In Santa Ynez Valley, yes. In Happy Canyon of Santa Barbara, yes. In the Figueroa Mountain area, absolutely. Los Olivos District, absolutely, sure. In fact, I think maybe you could grow incredibly good Merlot there. Merlot is plummy, it's juicy, it gives you all of the a lot of the richness of Cabernet without a lot of the tannic grip. And I'll tell you what, $80 Merlot is now $28 at the most, and you can get some of the greatest Merlots in California for under $50. You can't say that about Cab. You can't say that about Pinot Noir. It's not underrated. It's underrepresented by drinkers, and I think it's time to have a real relationship with Merlot and to reinvent our relationship with Merlot, because we're seeing acreage pulled out. We're losing a lot of old vine Merlot because the price of the tonnage isn't there. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I need to drink more Merlot. So I'm going to make a conscious decision to do two things this year: drink a little more Merlot, and then meet with as many people as want to come out to Vegas as soon as it's really, really, honestly open and safe to go there. Because I'm not a huge Vegas guy. I'm not a gambler. I'm not really into strip clubs. But I do love everything about walking around Vegas and watching people with, hopefully with my wife at that point. That would be wonderful to do. So you got it. That's pretty much our show for tonight. I will, in about 2 minutes, go through and answer any questions and welcome anyone who just came. For anyone who's watching over on the YouTube, either the J.Wilkes or the Miller Family Wine Company channel, thank you so much for watching. You should, unless this is 5 years in the future. How wonderful. You're probably walking around without a mask on. That must be wonderful. The promo code is DD50. DD50 gets you the $10 shipping on every case. Remember, you want to fill the case, because if you go 13 bottles, it's $20. 24 bottles, $20. $10 up to 12 bottles, 13 to 24, you get it. $10 flat rate shipping. Trust me, if you have a UPS or a FedEx account, you know what a good deal that is and how much we are actually paying to ship you wine. So we appreciate that. All of the Smashberry, Ballard Lane, and Barrel Burner wine, $7.50 a bottle, $3.75 a can. If it's still up on the website, I'll check that and make sure I get you an answer on that. And other than that, J.Wilkes, even without it, you always want to apply the DD50, Day Drinking 50, DD50 promo code, just to make sure you get the best value. But you'll notice all the J.Wilkes wines are 6 bottles, 20% off. 1 case, you get 25% off. And if you just click the Join the Wine Club, again, you will not see any wine shipped to us until June, and perhaps at a time where you might even have some people over at your house. I'm not sure yet. Be safe. Don't jump the gun. But joining the J.Wilkes Wine Club also gets you into our special Zoom tasting with myself and a number of our people. And then the last thing I'll mention is, I don't know if you saw how excited I am, is V is for Vino, which is the #1 wine show on Amazon Prime right now. We are going to do a Zoom broadcast to the J.Wilkes Wine Santa Barbara Facebook page this week from Friday, which is going to be May 1st, May Day. We will celebrate May Day in a very non-communist way by clearly supporting and exciting stuff about American wine and basically the capitalism of selling it. So I hope you guys all had a fabulous time tonight. I sure did. Talking about old wine, talking about underrepresented wines. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, follow, tell me about which wines you think are your most underrepresented reds and whites in West Coast viticulture, specifically in California or wherever you are. Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me where you're from. And I hope all of you had an absolutely fantastic time. I will log out, thanking once again Brent Grandy for my beautiful bottle of Fortaleza Silver Tequila. If you've never had Fortaleza, you are missing out. This is amazing. Took my voice a little bit longer to get back. I'm going to do a shot. I'm going to welcome everybody who's watching. I'm going to answer some questions. And here's to Day Drinking, the way I sign off from the regular end of this broadcast is, remember to love the one you're with. And if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. And if you can't be with the wine you love the wine you're with. But you'll always love the wines from the Miller Family Wine Company. Thank you. Find someone in your neighborhood that needs some extra love or some attention. Make sure they feel connected. Make sure you find someone in your family that feels the same. And then obviously be as kind as you can. Be as patient as you can. Take your advice from doctors. Take your advice from people that are going to focus in on making you the healthiest person you can be. I will stay hunkered down as long as I need to. And I'm going to have to stay hunkered down longer. I won't touch my face anymore. I know that's bad. I did wash my hands, and I've been handling tequila, which makes me magically safe. Just kidding. Be safe. Trust people that understand what's really going on, and Be well. Let's answer some questions and say hello to some people. I'm just so much more entertaining and interesting when I'm drinking tequila. I don't know what it is. All right, Tammy. Tammy's in the house. Tammy Heron, one of my favorite beautiful sommeliers. Little thing you don't know about Tammy, she was a rose princess in the Tournament of Roses parade in Pasadena. You might not know how important that is to culture, but I grew up in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, and we used to make we used to have a float every year, and we would use the float as an excuse to get away from our parents and say we were down there working on the float. And we would work on the float and make sure, like my dad was the principal of our local high school. Yes, my father was my own principal for 2 years of my life, which I'm just still getting over. So we would go down to the float, make sure at least 4 or 5 parents saw us at the float, and then we would basically just disappear and go to a party and do some stuff that probably 17 and 18-year-olds shouldn't have done. All right, so I'm going to go up a little bit. Phil was talking about his love for Biennacido. We've got Michelle. She's got plenty of wine in her house. We're very proud of you. Oh, no. And Michelle says, yeah, the cans are off. I will find out about the cans. I had meant to do that today. And then Keith is talking about Barbera. Oh, my gosh. You know what I didn't mention? My dishonorable mentions. Dishonorable meaning you guys should feel horrible about not drinking as much of this wine as you can. So my dishonorable mention for white wines was Riesling, Torrontés, Chardonnay, because of these people who are like, oh, Chardonnay's ass. I don't drink Chardonnay. Chardonnay flew the coop in the Rombauer era. No, it did not. Chardonnay is still the most expressive wine grape on the planet. Chardonnay needs your love. We don't even need to plant more, but we need to make sure that we understand all of the cool climate, all the way to warm climate characters of Chardonnay. Marsanne, Roussanne, and Albarino. I would say the last 3 years in a row, the greatest white wine I have actually consumed and tried has been a bottle-aged wine from the Northern Rhone that has included Roussanne, Marsanne, or a blend of both. Roussanne and Marsanne, I love. Probably even more than Viognier, but I don't make one. Yes, and I got and he was feeling it. And then on the red side, my dishonorable mentions. Are you ready? All right. Petite Syrah, California heritage varietal. Everyone should be drinking more Petite. Tempranillo, because it's still way underplanted, and I think it can make incredibly good wine in California. Unfortunately, Tempranillo, much like other grapes, requires, like Nebbiolo, requires a little patience to let the wine kind of mellow and have a little bit of time in bottle. And then I'm going to throw in Barbera. Totally agree. Barbera, beautiful clusters. Barbera in cooler regions where it's grown right now will produce darker, richer, wonderful wines. Let's watch Barbera. Nero d'Avola, basically a Sicilian / Southern Italian variety that doesn't get much love. It produces amazing wine in Italy, and I think with all of our sunshine and our weather, we could produce beautiful Nero d'Avola here. The issue is Nero is such a good value from Italy. Why would we grow it here when we can just get kick-ass $10, $15 bottles from Sicily and Southern Italy? And then my last one on the red list is Syrah, because there are more bottles of $30 Syrah gathering dust on the shelves of wine shops all over the world. We need to love Syrah. We all talk about how we love Syrah, but none of us buy it. None of us drink it. So I don't make Syrah, but you guys should all be drinking it, especially Syrah from Biennacido. If you've never had a Biennacido Syrah, I think it's probably one of the great we grow there. And given the choice of drinking a bottle-aged bottle of Pinot Noir from Biennacido and a bottle-aged bottle of Syrah, I'm going to probably go Syrah 7-8 times out of 10, depends on what I'm drinking. But yes. All right, Josh is talking about Chenin Blanc and Albarino. And Ruth Ann is in the house. It is Wines Day. It's Wine Wednesday. We're having a good time here. I love it. We've got Marcus is talking about Tangent. Yes, I am the king of tangents, and my students used to know this when I taught high school, especially if we had a quiz right at the end of the class just when we had enough time to have a quiz. My students would be like, Mr. Hagen, tell us about mythology and Joseph Campbell again, knowing that I couldn't resist and that I would go on long enough to say, oh, crap, we don't have enough time to take our quiz today. So, yes, I'm very good about that. How long would you suggest laying down the J.Wilkes Reds, Pinot Noir, Kent's Red, and Lagrein? I would say, in general, we're going to do a retrospective of J.Wilkes Pinot Noir and try to understand how long they should age. I would say, for me, Pinot Noir, Kent's Red, and the Lagrein all can easily go 5 without even breaking a sweat. So I would say somewhere between 5 and 7 years from vintage date would be my suggestion. Dom, if you really like a fully mature wine, I would say, I would say the Pinot Noir, you could go 7 to 12 for full maturity. Kent's Red, that Lagrein and the Barbera still has a fair amount of acidity. So I'm going to go 6 to 10 for full maturity on Kent's. And the Lagrein, I just don't have much. I don't drink a lot of bottle-aged Lagrein except maybe from Turlon. Oh my gosh, 5 to 7, just to be conservative, as conservative as a guy with this much hair can be. Cool. And Fiddlehead, yes. Awesome. Yes, getting a lot of good comments about Chenin Blanc and some other stuff. Upgrade 2020. You've never had a U.S. Chenin Blanc, Michelle? I would just pull the trigger right now on some Chapelet from Napa. I don't know if it's Clarksburg or if they're actually growing at a state. Very, very good job. Dom's over here. He came back. Hopefully he can see me. Oh, some people talking back and forth with some love. Buscador makes a lovely Chenin Blanc in Buellton. Jolie is now more connected in areas outside of Santa Maria than I am. We love that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Yeah, Lagrein was close on the dishonorable mention, but you know what? I just couldn't go Lagrein because it's still there's so little of it that until we plant more. And I get people talking about Lagrein, I didn't feel comfortable in adding that as of all the grapes. And I went through Gentis Robinson's grapes to try to make sure that I really chose the grapes that I felt honorably that I could say need more attention in California. Kurkowski, welcome, dude. I don't know if you're in Santa Maria or up in Montana, or no, you weren't in Montana. You were in Wyoming, but I hope you are home and I hope we can see each other soon. Pinot Meunier. Yeah, Pinot Meunier, absolutely. I mean, normally it's just made as a varietal wine in Oregon, and it's an important part of sparkling wine in California. I don't know if I'd put it in top 3, but definitely I'd like to see a little bit more varietal stuff there. Norton was so close. Norton, I'm going to go ahead and throw Norton in the dishonorable mention because all of us as Americans should at least be drinking a bottle of Norton a month. Out of Missouri, out of other regions where they're growing great Norton. Beautiful, beautiful grape. Yes. Cab Franc, Metric. Yes. Your long-aged partner, Alex Russin is making beautiful Cab Franc, and I agree with that. I'm officially the oldest hipster. Me? At 28 years old? Nah, I'm 51. I just had my 51st birthday. Virginia Norton, I think that would be great. Let's see, we've got, yeah, no, it makes a very nice wine. Merlot, yes, so many ways it can express itself, and we should all wonderful. And Carl, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate. And Kevin, lovely to have you here as well. And I have the book on Norton. I can't remember what's it called. I think it's called like The Wild Vine or something like that. But I've been given that book about Norton, and I will read it, I swear. Sweet. The cans, I guess maybe Antonio still has some. Gosh, you guys know more about my company. I love the fact that you guys understand that too. And there's some Syrah out of Black Ankle, which is nice too. And Teresa, thank you so much. I'm glad you got your wine today. That makes me very excited. I will thank Katie for stepping up and doing that. Appreciate that. I'm sorry you lost your feed. That's why we always have 2, clearly. And Martin's saying that his mother's favorite wine was Chenin Blanc. It was one of the first wines you ever drank because of that. That's fantastic. Negro Amaro, a wonderful grape I've never tasted, and obviously Amaro is sort of my thing. Hello, Fernet. I know that it's not connected, but I'm sure Amaro means something in Italy that has some interesting impact. Obviously, the black Amaro, Negro Amaro. I hope your mushrooms were absolutely delicious, Mr. Rick Pratt. And you're in Reno next to the pool. It's probably a nice warm day out there, 18 Pinot Blanc. I hope you're loving it. Let's see, we got, and everybody else. I think we caught up. So I'm going to, I don't know why my camera is completely crapped out. Okay, well, it looks like my feed over at Wes Hagen has stopped. I have probably talked way more than I need to. So again, I thank all of you. Show kindness to everyone around you. Read science, love science. Science will get us out of this much better than any other thing that you can be looking at or reading right now. Trust in science, trust in each other, and trust in the idea that if we all stay apart, then we can all come back together. So take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and I will see all of you tomorrow for another of the last, actually tomorrow will be the last day drinking for the week. I'm going to take the weekend off. Friday, I'm doing the wine club thing. So if you want to be with us on Friday, do join the wine club. No reason not to, and we'll take good care of you, I promise. So have a wonderful evening, and I will see all of you soon. Cheers.